Good morning. How you doing, Bob?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me here this morning. It's nice to be back in the town of Auburn.
I'd like to welcome you as newly elected senator of the 2nd Worcester District.
Thank you.
Also, in going back, me being a selectman here in Auburn and you serving 3 terms in the town of Millbury, and your willingness to support the people of Auburn, along with Representative Paul Frost in our various issues that come aboard daily, and welcome.
Thank you. Paul and I have actually met several times already discussing potential budget issues and what's pretty much happening in the state right now. So he's going to be someone that I'll enjoy working with.
What's going on? I know it's at the top of all the people's minds regarding the gas tax and the toll issue that's being discussed in Boston.
Yeah, that's a big issue going on right now. Well, as you know, the governor has floated several options. I think a couple of weeks ago he talked about a 30-cent gas tax, and I think he went down to 24, 25-cent gas tax, and now the final is a 19-cent gas tax, and the Turnpike is looking at increasing tolls. Well, I think you saw in the T&G over the weekend that I'm opposed to the 19-cent gas tax. The Senate actually has proposed a transportation reform bill, which would merge the MBTA, Mass Pike, Mass Highway, remove the Tobin Bridge from control of Massport, which runs the Logan Airport. And our reorganization plan does not have a revenue enhancement or gas tax attached to it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I have some reservations about a gas tax. If we raise taxes on fuel right now, gas has finally returned to a lower price. If we raise taxes on that where it's going to cost our consumers more money, one fear I have is that we have a lot of commercial vehicles that are using our highway system. If they gas up out of state, now they'll be on our roads, wear and tear. They won't be contributing to the maintenance of those roads. And the issue is, why should the taxpayers of Central Massachusetts be footing the majority of the bill for the big dig? So right now, I think if we did something with the tolls, maybe expand them back out to the western Massachusetts, right to the border, or even added tolls on 93. That might be a little bit fairer. So we establish a user's fee. If you use the system, you pay for it. But right now, I'm very skeptical about or pessimistic about a gas tax.
I don't know whether I'll be throwing you a left-hand hook, but a lot of people have mentioned that people coming in on 93 into Boston on a daily basis, which are really probably the ones that are using the big dig the most as far as the use of that road, and also the people coming down from New Hampshire are not having to pay a toll. And a lot of people are unhappy about that, and that they're bearing the burden out west here, where they feel that those people we should be instituting tolls in those areas. Has that been under discussion?
Actually, I know there's one senator who has filed some legislation which did recommend installing tolls on 93. But if I remember correctly, I think her legislation also incorporated increasing the gas tax. That's actually one of the reasons why I didn't sign on to it. I am fully supportive, just as we stated a few minutes ago, that I'm fully supportive of putting tolls on 93. We crossed the border from Massachusetts into New Hampshire. Within 2 miles, 2 to 3 miles, we're paying a toll in New Hampshire. I think it's justifiable, just as you say. People from out of state are on our highways. Right now, they're not paying for the wear and tear of the system. I think we should be charging them for use of our roadways. And again, if you don't go into Boston, which how many hundreds of thousands of people in Central Mass do not go into the Boston area, why should they be paying for the big dig?
Now, Senator Moore, what's going on in regards to the Commonwealth's budget? Now, we as a town, the Board of Selectmen, for the last 3 weeks have been working day and night to try to get the budget balanced and so on, and wonder what's going on as far as the Commonwealth is concerned with the budget.
Well, being a former selectman, I know how important local aid and getting the appropriate numbers are to the cities and towns so that you can balance your budget. One of the issues that we're having to deal with right now is the fact that all the revenue estimates we get, and we're getting them every 2 weeks, every time we get these estimates, the revenue projections are lower. So one thing that we're concerned about is that we don't want to give a wrong number for the cities and towns to base their budgets on. So I think as far as a local aid resolution, we're probably going to be looking more towards the time frame of April. But prior to getting elected, the state had instituted $1.5 billion in 9C cuts. Well, my second vote as a senator was to give the governor authority for another $1 billion. Today we're going to be going to session, formal session today, and one of the topics that we may be looking at is going into the rainy day fund for another $327 million to pay for the snow and ice deficit. The problem with that is, the more we go into right now, it's less money we're going to have available for next year's budget. We also saw in February, the revenue estimates for the month of February were down $86 million. There's some concern because traditionally February is a low revenue month. If that consists, is consistent for March, April, May, June, and July, well, we could see another shortfall of $500 to $600 million. It's going to be very difficult to go to a city or town and say institute cuts in May, because then you almost got to double.
We're bare bones as we are, as it is right now.
And you've got a shorter period of time to make up the cuts. So do we then go into the rainy day fund again? Because then again, that's going to impact next year. So we've got some tough choices that we're going to have to make, and we're really going to need all levels of government to really work together on this.
So you have several possible solutions to put forth to even out the balance sheet, right?
Yes, yeah. Well, if you look at the governor's budget, the House 1 budget that he proposed, right now, traditionally, the governor's budget for local aid would be the starting point. As the budget moves from the House to the Senate, the local aid numbers usually go up. Mm-hmm. Well, when the governor basically put his budget together, the revenue forecasts were higher than what we're getting now. So as the budget moves forward, you're probably going to see the local aid numbers probably diminish between the House budget and the Senate budget. So another concern that we have in there is the governor had in his budget the revenue from the meals tax and the hotel tax. Well, if you read the paper yesterday, and again with the House of Representatives, the new speaker, we're all learning this also, trying to figure out where he stands as far as these revenue enhancements go. And I guess there was a lot of controversy yesterday on the meals tax and this hotel tax. So the governor's got in his budget revenue from these two revenue enhancement packages, so we don't even know where that's going to stand.
We have it in our budget too, so hopefully it passes.
Well, and even if it does pass, one thing we're seeing is a collapsing of the revenues. So the cigarette tax that went through sometime last year, from our understanding from the revenue projections that are coming in, that's not bringing in the revenues that people anticipated. So I think the governor's estimates were for the meals tax to bring in $200 million. Well, even if it's instituted, we have to hope that it does bring that level of revenue in. There's going to be a lot of discussion. I think the main thing is right now we're going to have to look at reforms. We can't just go to revenue enhancements. We really have to look at reforming how the state operates and how we provide services.
With the budget cuts, with the local aid, as you're aware, we had the opportunity to visit you in Boston about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we were informed, which we knew, but we wanted it spelled out to us. The town of Auburn is not getting its fair share in local aid because of the formula that needs adjustment, but the adjustment won't be forthcoming in the near future because the state is in financial straits right now, but we've been assured that it will come forward when they're able to to make us whole.
Yeah, I think during that meeting, DOE, Department of Education, had stated that there's several communities that were not actually at foundation funding. Actually, my home community of Millbury is the same situation there. One aspect that may help us, which is the federal stimulus. We've heard some talk that money may be used to bring communities up to foundation, which, if it does, that will mean extra revenues for the town to hopefully help them with their education budget.
Okay. As far as the stimulus is concerned, and everyone's asking, do you have any word on it yet? And has anything come forward
No.
to the governor and the lieutenant governor yet to pass down?
Well, we know revenues, or there's been conversations with the governor's office and lieutenant governor's office. As far as the Senate or the House representatives, I can't answer for the House, but for the Senate, we're still waiting to receive information. We're still trying to determine what our role is going to be in disbursement of these funds. We've actually created a federal stimulus oversight committee, to joint committee, and so they're going to try to make this process as transparent as possible. We also saw the first federal government when they did the bailout for the banks, and how the first $350 billion went, and they couldn't really track it. Well, we're going to try to make sure that our process is transparent. We know where the money went, where the money is going to go, but we still have to determine what our role is going to be as far as our authority in dispersing the funds.
No, we as a town have submitted, as you know, a list of items that we feel that are important to us to if should the stimulus monies become available, and we've prioritized the items based on the readiness and so on. Most of the items needing to be shovel ready within 180 days, and we've rated the items accordingly. In fact, there was an article, and I don't know if it related to this or not. One of the things that's on our list is the wind turbines for energy purposes, and there was a list, I believe it was in the Boston Post, that listed Auburn as number 6. I think there were 8 communities that submitted a listing of wind turbine requests and so on. And it listed our request and the amount that we requested, which was $12 million for three 360-foot towers.
Okay.
On Prospect Hill, and hopefully that'll be forthcoming, because that'll help not only municipal, the schools, it'll also help the residential in cost factors and energy costs.
Well, I do know part of the formula that they're using is job-based. So a lot of this, where it's stimulus money, it's to create jobs, get people back to work. So I know from what we've been told, they're going to try to stick to the formula as much as possible to try to get people back out working to sustain the economy. I think we saw in the paper 2 days ago that the governor had released the first round of projects that have been reviewed. These were pretty much all state projects from the website or the listing of projects that's been reviewed already. We haven't seen the projects from Auburn, Millbury, Grafton, the towns within the second Worcester district: Leicester, Auburn, Millbury, Grafton, Shrewsbury, Worcester, and not just those communities, but other communities in the state that have submitted projects. They have not been on the reviewed list yet. So it's my understanding is what they first did was review the state projects. So hopefully now the other projects will be reviewed and determined whether they'll fit the formula to receive funding. A lot of communities are pinning a lot of hopes on that.
And all that we've mentioned, what's next in terms of shaping the budget?
Well, it's really just waiting to see what the House is going to send to us for the budget, then us debating their recommendations. We've already met with Senate Ways and Means. I met with Senator Penjatakis' office about 2 weeks ago, and I've I've requested level funding for local aid. I've also requested trying to get funding back for community policing money. I think even the Quinn bill for law enforcement, there's been some discussion there. That there's several communities in the towns that they've, by a local ordinance or a contract, whether the state funds this line item or not, they're required to pay this. So you could look at this as a local aid cut. So I'm trying to restore some of the funding for that also.
That'll be what, by way of the stimulus monies?
Well, no, I'm looking to do this through the budget process.
Okay, not the
For the community
police,
policing.
the safety, the Quinn bill, which is the governor has proposed I think it's a 16% cut
Yes.
in the amount, which puts the burden on the town.
Right.
They're looking to make us whole, hopefully, in some way.
Well, I've put in for it. The city of Worcester, Auburn, Millbury, and Grafton. It's my understanding that speaking with the towns, that if the state doesn't fully fund this line item, the towns or the city will have to make up the difference. So in effect, it's almost like another cut in local aid. So, I've met with Ways and Means. I'm trying to see if I can secure some funding to get that back up there.
Well, we've already assured our safety personnel that we will cover the difference, but hopefully it'll be forthcoming from the state in some manner.
Yeah. And the same thing with community policing. I know there's a lot of community policing programs that may not affect the town of Auburn, but for the city of Worcester, foot patrols in some of the areas that need the added safety or police presence. So we're trying to work on getting some of this coverage back, which it's my understanding the stimulus may actually provide some funding for that. The governor reduced, there was $20 million in the fiscal 09 budget that he's recommended for 010. They've reduced all $21 million is gone from the budget. So it's a lot of tough choices we're going to have to make over the next year to 2 years.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close things up?
Well,
Summarize?
I enjoyed the job. It's challenging. Over the last 2 months, I've been going out to meeting with the selectmen, school committees. But one thing actually I find very funny during the process, it's when I'm going out and I'm meeting with different advocacy groups or the cities or towns, everyone's asking to support programs or line items, and everyone's programs or issues are very important to them. But then in the same conversation, they'll literally come back and say that you're my senator, don't support any sort of tax increases, which we're going to concentrate on reforms. But there seems to be a disconnect with the public that they think they can get more programs or more funding without revenue enhancements, or tax increases. Right? The state's looking at $3 billion this year for a shortfall. Next year we're looking at $3.4 to $4 billion. And I just don't know. I don't know if we are going to be able to level fund all programs or line items with the budget reductions and through reforms and not have some sort of revenue enhancement. So there's a lot of challenges facing us as far as this goes. I almost wonder sometimes if we have to add some sort of civics class in school so people can understand that. If you want programs or services, you have to pay for them. Yes, government has a responsibility to make sure programs are run efficiently, and we should always be looking to provide better services, but there's a cost to running those services, and I don't know if the public, for some reason, if they don't want to acknowledge it because times are tough, or they don't realize it. So.
Okay, I'd like to thank you for coming here today to the Auburn High School TV studios. And this is something, just the beginning of many that we hope to have to update the townspeople on the goings-on in the State House, in the town, and questions that we can pose to the senator to hopefully get the answers that we're looking for. So we thank you very much.
And thank you for having me here. Look forward to seeing you again and meeting with you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.